Comment and rate my story from 0 to 10. Your opinion is very important, and subscribe to my channel to support my work. I'm counting on your help. The click-clack of high heels echoed through the polished marble of the mansion's grand hall, where imported crystal reflected the golden light of the antique chandeliers. The birthday party was proceeding in perfect harmony until the main door slammed open with a bang, screeching on its old hinges. A gust of cold wind swept into the room, carrying with it the scent of the rain that was beginning to fall outside. Amidst the impeccable elegance, a tiny figure appeared in the doorway. The 4-year-old girl was drenched, her dark hair plastered to her thin face, her tattered clothes dripping dirty water onto the marble floor. Her bare feet left muddy prints as she walked purposefully among the paralyzed guests. The 4-year-old boy, dressed in a custom-made navy blue suit, paused with puffed-out cheeks, ready to blow out the candles on the 3-tiered cake decorated with sugar roses. His big eyes widened when he saw the girl approaching, the little intruder who didn't belong in this world of wealth and privilege. "He's not your father." The girl's sharp voice cut through the air like a knife, echoing through the walls covered with ancestral portraits. The silence that followed was deafening. Conversation ceased, forks froze mid-air, champagne glasses hovered at the lips of the guests. The 30-year-old widowed millionaire, a man of impeccable appearance who had amassed a considerable fortune investing in Wall Street stocks, felt the blood run cold in his veins. His blue eyes, always confident and determined, flickered as he watched the wet child who had just shattered the tranquility of his carefully constructed life. The elderly housekeeper, a 60-year-old woman who had worked for the family for decades, let out a stifled sigh. Her wrinkled hands tightened on her white apron, recognizing something familiar in those big, dark eyes of the girl. There was a sadness there, a precocious wisdom that shouldn't exist in someone so young. "Who is that child?" The icy voice of the wicked stepmother echoed through the hall. The 40-year-old woman, sister of the deceased wife, rose from her chair with precise movements, her brown eyes gleaming with barely disguised irritation. She had been managing the family business since taking control after her sister's untimely death 2 years ago. The girl was not intimidated. Her eyes scanned the luxurious surroundings, cataloging every detail with impressive accuracy. The photographic memory she had possessed since she was a child recorded everything: the burgundy velvet drapes, the grand piano in the corner of the room, the scent of French roses that emanated from the floral arrangements. "I saw her talking to another man," said the child, pointing a small, dirty finger at the portrait of the deceased wife that adorned the main wall. "Every Tuesday in Central Park, she cried a lot." The millionaire felt his legs weaken. Mariana, his wife, had passed away in a car accident on a rainy night, leaving him alone with the boy and a pain that seemed to have no end. But this revelation opened wounds he thought had healed. "That's absurd," murmured the stepmother, but her voice carried a tension that did not go unnoticed by the housekeeper. A street urchin making up stories. The guests began to whisper among themselves, the murmuring growing like waves in a storm. Members of high society, partners in the construction company, longtime friends, all watched the scene with a mixture of morbid curiosity and embarrassment. The girl approached the cake, her eyes fixed on the boy who was still holding the lit candles. "He has the same face as the man in the park," she whispered, but her childish voice echoed through the absolute silence of the hall. The millionaire rose slowly, his movements controlled despite the internal chaos. His fortune in dollars, built over years of hard work after inheriting his father's company, seemed insignificant in the face of that revelation. The assets he had accumulated, the careful investments, the income that grew steadily, none of that mattered when the foundation of his family life crumbled. "Where did you come from?" he asked, his voice softer than he expected. There was something about that child that struck a sensitive chord in his heart, a vulnerability he recognized in himself. "From the streets," she replied simply, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "I collect cans to trade for food. I sleep wherever I can." The housekeeper stepped forward, her maternal instincts awakened by the girl's plight. Over her years caring for the family, she had seen a lot, but never a child so small carrying so much suffering in her eyes. "She's wet and cold," said the elderly woman, meeting the icy gaze of her employer. "She needs dry clothes and hot food." "She needs to get out of here immediately," retorted the stepmother, her fists clenched. "She's disrupting a private party with delusions." But the millionaire raised his hand, silencing his sister-in-law. His eyes could not stray from the girl, who watched everything with a disturbing calm for her age. There was something familiar about her, something that stirred buried memories. "What else do you remember about my wife?" he asked, crouching down to be at the child's height. The girl's eyes lit up, as if a door opened in her mind. "She always brought yellow flowers, and she cried when the man left. Once she saw me watching from afar and gave me a piece of bread." The millionaire's heart pounded. Mariana loved sunflowers. She always took them when she visited her mother's grave in the cemetery near Central Park. But why would she be meeting another man? Why the tears? The rain outside intensified, beating against the huge windows of the mansion like impatient fingers. The guests began to stir, uncomfortable with the tension that dominated the atmosphere. Some were already whispering about leaving the party. Others watched the scene as spectators of a drama unfolding before their eyes. "This is ridiculous," said the stepmother, her voice cutting. "An abandoned child making up stories to get attention. We should call the authorities." But the millionaire remained crouched before the girl, studying her small, determined face. Something inside him, an intuition he could not explain, told him that she was telling the truth. And if it were true, it meant that he didn't know his own wife as he thought. "What's your name?" he asked softly. The girl hesitated for the first time since entering the hall. Her lips trembled slightly before answering, "I don't have a name. People call me different things." The answer hit the millionaire like a punch in the stomach. A child without a name, without a family, surviving on the streets of a cruel metropolis. And now, inexplicably, she had appeared in his house with information that could destroy everything he believed about his marriage. The housekeeper approached with a warm towel, wrapping it carefully around the girl's small shoulders with maternal care. The simple gesture created a stark contrast with the cold opulence of the surroundings, where each object was worth more than many people earned in a year. The 4-year-old boy, who had remained silent throughout the scene, finally approached the wet girl. His curious eyes watched her without the prejudice of the adults around. The following weeks transformed the routine of the mansion irreversibly. The millionaire had made a decision that surprised everyone, including himself. He allowed the girl to remain on the property temporarily. The decision caused an earthquake in the family structures carefully built over the years. The wicked stepmother could not hide her fury. During the morning meetings about the construction company's business, she hammered numbers and contracts with an aggressiveness that had not existed before. Her eyes followed every move of the child around the house like a predator watching its prey. "This is a terrible mistake," she repeated during breakfast, while the girl ate silently in a booster seat. "A street child doesn't belong in this environment. She will contaminate the boy with her savage ways." But the elderly housekeeper had become the little one's silent protector. The kind-hearted woman saw in the child a purity that had been missing from that house for a long time. She prepared warm baths, combed the girl's dark hair with infinite care, and told stories at bedtime. "She has nightmares every night," confessed the housekeeper to the millionaire on a cold morning. "She screams in her sleep, calling for someone we can't identify. Sometimes she wakes up crying, saying she needs to find her family." The millionaire absorbed every word, feeling a growing weight in his chest. His considerable fortune, his investments in bitcoins that grew steadily, all his assets built with so much effort, None of that seemed to have value when he watched a 4-year-old child fighting demons she could not understand. During the second week, the girl revealed more disturbing details about the secret meetings of his late wife. She drew with crayons on the kitchen table, her childish strokes creating figures that represented fragmented memories. "The man always arrived first," she said, coloring a male figure in blue. "He sat on the bench near the fountain. When she arrived, he stood up, and they walked together to the big trees." The millionaire watched the drawings with growing anxiety. He knew Central Park well. He had proposed to Mariana exactly near that fountain. Knowing that she had returned there for secret meetings with another man made his stomach churn. "He gave her things," continued the girl, now drawing small rectangles in the female figure's hands. "White papers inside a brown folder. She always looked at them and then put them in her purse." "What kind of papers?" he asked, struggling to keep his voice steady. The child stopped drawing and looked directly into his eyes. "I can't read yet, but she was very sad afterwards. Once she threw away some papers in the park's trash can. I picked them up because the paper was pretty, but then I lost them when it rained." The revelation hit the millionaire like a stab. Mariana had hidden something important from him, something that left her visibly disturbed. What secrets did his wife carry? Why had she never mentioned those meetings? The first small twist came when he decided to rummage through Mariana's belongings in the attic of the mansion. Among dusty boxes of photographs and memories, he found a small diary that had gone unnoticed during the tidying up after her passing. The pages contained cryptic notes, dates, times, and codes that he could not decipher. Tuesdays, 10 in the morning, always the same note. Meeting, CP, Central Park. Mariana had meticulously documented her secret meetings for months before her passing. The second small twist happened when the housekeeper confessed something she had kept for 2 years. One night, after serving dinner, she pulled the millionaire into a corner of the kitchen, her hands trembling slightly. "Sir, I need to tell you something about Mrs. Mariana," she whispered, looking nervously around. "In the last months before the accident, she came home very distressed. She locked herself in the office for hours, and I heard very tense phone conversations." "Why didn't you ever tell me this?" he asked, feeling a mixture of gratitude and irritation. "She asked me not to say anything. She said it was to protect the family from something very complicated. I promised to keep it secret, but now, with this girl here bringing back these memories..." The third small twist came unexpectedly when the girl, playing alone in the mansion's garden, found something buried under Mariana's favorite rosebush. It was a small metal box, the size of a book, hidden among the roots of the plant. "I found a treasure!" she shouted, running to show her discovery to the millionaire, who was reviewing contracts in the office. Inside the box were photographs of children he had never seen, receipts for bank transfers to an institution called Hope Shelter, and a handwritten letter that began with the words, "If something happens to me, please take care of the children." The letter was signed by Mariana. The millionaire sat heavily in the leather armchair, his hands trembling as he read and reread the letter. His wife had maintained a secret life dedicated to helping abandoned children, using a significant portion of her personal income to support an underground shelter. "Why did she never tell me?" he murmured to himself, looking at the photographs of smiling children's faces that his wife had cared for in secret. The wicked stepmother chose exactly that moment to enter the office without knocking, finding him surrounded by the scattered documents. Her eyes widened when she saw the photographs and papers, and her expression became even darker. "What is this?" she asked, her voice laden with a tension he could not identify. "It seems Mariana had personal projects that I was unaware of," he replied, watching his sister-in-law's reaction carefully. For a fraction of a second, something passed over the stepmother's face. Fear? Guilt? But she quickly recomposed the usual mask of irritation. "This only confirms what I always suspected," she said coldly. "Mariana was irresponsible with money, probably being cheated by con artists who were taking advantage of her kindness. But the millionaire was no longer listening. His mind was seething with questions that demanded answers. If Mariana maintained a secret shelter, if she met regularly with someone related to this work, what other truths had she hidden from him? That night, as the rain lashed against the bedroom windows, he watched the girl sleeping in the guest bed that the housekeeper had prepared especially for her. The child mumbled in her sleep, restless movements revealing troubled dreams. "Mummy, where's Mummy?" she whispered, small fists clenched against the pillow. The millionaire's heart constricted. This street girl, without a name, without a known family, had appeared in his life carrying secrets about his late wife. But who was she really? Where had she come from? And why did her revelations seem so precise and painful? As he watched the child struggle against invisible nightmares, a certainty grew in his chest. His life, so carefully organized after Mariana's passing, was about to be completely turned upside down. And at the center of this emotional storm was a 4-year-old girl who perhaps held the keys to truths he wasn't sure he was ready to face. The wicked stepmother had made it clear that she considered the child's presence a threat. But a threat to what exactly? What secret still remained buried in the foundations of that seemingly perfect family? Outside, the storm intensified, and the millionaire sensed that his life would never be the same again. The third month brought dramatic changes that no one in the mansion could have predicted. The millionaire had begun to investigate on his own the hope shelter mentioned in the documents found, and what he discovered left him deeply shaken. The place was on the outskirts of the city, hidden among abandoned buildings and vacant lots. When he arrived at the address, he found only rubble and a city hall sign informing that the building had been demolished for lack of permits 2 years before, exactly at the same time that Mariana had passed. The coincidence was too disturbing to be ignored. "Excuse me, sir, can I help you?" A female voice interrupted him as he observed the wreckage. A middle-aged woman with simple clothes and tired eyes approached carrying shopping bags. "I'm looking for information about a shelter that used to operate here," he explained. "My wife used to help financially." The woman's face lit up with recognition. "Oh, the lady with the blue car. What a kind woman. She came every week, always brought medicine and clothes for the children. We were devastated when we heard about the accident." "Did you know her well?" asked the millionaire, his heart racing. "Yes, I knew her. She was trying to regularize the situation of the shelter, fighting for the legal documentation. She said she had the resources to turn it into something official and permanent. But then..." The woman paused, her eyes filling with tears. The first medium twist hit the millionaire like lightning when the woman continued her narrative. Mariana wasn't just donating money. She had invested her personal savings in an attempt to legalize the shelter and create an official foundation. Even more shocking, she was in the process of adopting one of the children. There was one girl in particular that she loved like a daughter, said the woman, wiping her eyes with the back of her hand. Tiny, with dark hair, with big, sad eyes. Mrs. Mariana always said she was going to give that child a real family. The blood ran cold in the millionaire's veins. That girl, what happened to her? She disappeared soon after the shelter closed. Some children went to other places, but she simply vanished. We searched for weeks, but we never found her. When he returned to the mansion, the millionaire found the girl playing in the garden with his son, the two building sandcastles near the ornamental fountain. Observing her with new eyes, he noticed details that he had ignored. The way she tilted her head when thoughtful, the particular way of smiling when she felt safe. The second medium twist exploded when he showed the girl one of the photographs found in Mariana's box. It was an image of the old shelter, with several children posing in the inner courtyard. "I know this place," exclaimed the child, pointing to the building in the photo. "I lived there when I was little. There was a very good lady who always hugged me and said she was going to take me to a beautiful house." "What was that lady like?" he asked, his hands trembling slightly. The girl ran into the mansion and returned with a crayon, beginning to draw on the paper he offered. She traced the profile of a woman with long hair and a gentle smile. The details were impressively accurate for a 4-year-old child. "She had a perfume that smelled like flowers," said the girl, still drawing, "and she always sang a song about little birds when she was sad. She said she was going to come back for me, but she never showed up again." The drawing that emerged on the paper was unmistakably the face of Mariana. The third medium twist came that same night, when the millionaire discovered a secret bank account that Mariana maintained exclusively for her charitable activities. The statements revealed regular transfers of significant amounts, resources that she had withdrawn from her personal inheritance without ever mentioning it to him. But there was something more disturbing in the bank records. The transfers had stopped abruptly 1 week before the accident, and the last transaction recorded was a withdrawal of a substantial amount of money, enough to finalize the adoption papers. The fourth medium twist arrived when the housekeeper brought a revelation she had kept for years. On a rainy afternoon, while serving tea in the library, she sat heavily in an armchair, her wrinkled hands trembling slightly. "Sir, I need to tell you something about the day of the accident," she began, avoiding eye contact. "Mrs. Mariana received a very strange call that morning. She became very upset, said she needed to leave immediately to resolve something urgent." "What kind of call?" pressed the millionaire. "Someone said that one of the children from the shelter was in danger, that she needed to pick her up that same night. Mrs. Mariana was desperate, took all the money she had saved in the safe, and ran out." The impact of the revelation left him breathless. Mariana had left on a rescue mission. It hadn't been a casual accident. She was going to save a child when she suffered the fatal accident. "Do you believe that—" he paused, struggling to form the words, "that this child was the girl who is here with us now?" The housekeeper looked out the window, where the girl was playing carefree in the garden. "The ages match, sir, and there's something in her eyes. It's like she recognizes this house, like she's been here before." During the following days, the millionaire watched the girl with redoubled attention. She navigated the mansion with a familiarity that didn't make sense for someone who had just arrived. She knew exactly where the bathroom was, found the kitchen without hesitation, slept peacefully in the guest room as if it had always been hers. The wicked stepmother, realizing the growing connection between her brother-in-law and the child, intensified her attacks. During a business meeting at the company, she spread rumors about his sick obsession with a disturbed street child. "He's clearly suffering a nervous breakdown," she whispered to the partners. "This fixation is not healthy. It's putting both the child and the family's reputation at risk." The rumors spread quickly through the social circles of high society. Invitations to events were withdrawn. Important contracts began to be questioned, and old friends began to avoid contact. The assets carefully built over the years began to suffer the first tremors. But the most devastating blow came when the stepmother hired a child psychologist to assess the girl. The professional, clearly influenced by the insinuations of the contractor, produced a report that classified the child's memories as traumatic fantasies and confabulations typical of abandonment. "This child needs intensive psychiatric treatment," declared the psychologist during a tense meeting at the mansion. "Her claims are the product of severe trauma and should not be taken seriously. I recommend immediate hospitalization." The millionaire felt the world crumble around him. Everything he had begun to believe in, all the connections he had made between the girl and Mariana, was being systematically destroyed by science and logic. That night, as the storm raged outside, he found the girl awake in her room, looking out the window with a melancholic expression. "Are you sad?" she asked, her small voice echoing in the silence. "A little," he admitted, sitting on the edge of the bed. The child turned to him, her big eyes shining in the dim light. The lady with the flower perfume once told me that when people leave, they leave little pieces of love hidden for us to find. Maybe she left you to take care of me. The girl's words pierced his heart like arrows. Even facing the possibility of being separated from him, even with adults questioning her sanity, she maintained a wisdom and hope that humbled him. But a terrible doubt grew in his mind. What if everyone was right? What if he was being carried away by coincidences and desperate desires for connection? What if he was harming a traumatized child by fueling false hopes? The stepmother had made it clear that she would take legal action if he didn't hand the girl over to the authorities. And now, with the psychological report in hand, she had enough ammunition to prove that he was being irresponsible and potentially dangerous. The fourth month arrived loaded with tensions that threatened to explode at any moment. The wicked stepmother had scheduled a hearing with the juvenile court, presenting the psychological report as evidence that the millionaire was unfit to care for the child. The date was set. In 2 weeks, he would have to explain to a judge why he was keeping a street girl in his house against all professional recommendations. But it was at this moment of despair that an unexpected discovery completely changed the course of events. While organizing the papers for the legal defense, the millionaire found a sealed envelope at the bottom of the secret drawer in Mariana's office. The wax seal was still intact, as if it had been saved for a specific moment. Inside the envelope were documents that made his world spin. Birth certificates, medical reports, and an explanatory letter that Mariana had written shortly before her passing. With trembling hands, he read the first lines that changed everything. "My beloved husband, if you are reading this, it means that something happened to me before I could tell you the truth about our little protégé." The first major twist exploded before his eyes when he discovered that Mariana had secretly initiated an international adoption process. The girl wasn't just one of the children from the shelter. She was a child abandoned at the border, of unknown origin, who had been rescued by a child protection network that Mariana had been a part of for years. Even more shocking, the attached medical exams revealed that the girl had a rare genetic condition that caused stunted growth. She wasn't 4 years old as she appeared. She was 6 years old, but her physical development had been severely affected by chronic malnutrition and the genetic syndrome. The second major twist came when he read further in the letter. Mariana had discovered through DNA tests performed secretly that the girl shared genetic markers with a family that she knew very well. The results indicated a family connection that explained why she had felt so compelled to save that specific child. "The housekeeper who worked for my parents for so many years had a daughter who disappeared when she was young," wrote Mariana. "That daughter became pregnant at 16 and abandoned the baby in a church at the border. Our little protégée is the granddaughter of the woman who took care of me throughout my childhood." The millionaire almost dropped the letter. The elderly housekeeper who had worked in his house for decades, who had cared for Mariana since she was a child, was the girl's biological grandmother. The woman who had become the child's greatest protector in the mansion was, unconsciously, caring for her own lost granddaughter. The third and greatest twist arrived when he read the end of the letter. Mariana had planned to reveal everything on a specific date, exactly 1 week after the accident. She had prepared a surprise party where she would officially present the girl as the family's new adopted daughter, also revealing the family connection with the housekeeper. "She needs to know that she has a real family," wrote Mariana, "and our dear housekeeper needs to know that the granddaughter she has searched for so many years has finally returned home." But there was more. The documents revealed that the wicked stepmother knew everything. Mariana had confided the secret to her sister weeks before the accident, asking for her help to prepare the legal transition. Instead of supporting the plan, the sister-in-law had tried to convince Mariana to give up, arguing that the adoption would harm the purity of the family lineage. She told me terrible things about abandoned children, continued the letter. She said that a girl of unknown origin would tarnish our reputation. She threatened to create legal problems if I proceeded with the adoption. I am beginning to suspect that she has motives that go beyond prejudice. The millionaire felt a chill run down his spine when he read Mariana's last revelation. She had discovered irregularities in the company's accounts, unauthorized transfers that could only have been made by someone with full access to the financial systems. The stepmother was diverting significant profits from the construction company to personal investments in bitcoins and stocks, hiding the operations through shell corporations. "She has been stealing from our family for years," wrote Mariana, "and I believe she will try to prevent me from adopting our girl because a legal child in the family would complicate her inheritance schemes. If something happens to me, protect our little one and investigate the finances." The letter ended with specific instructions. All the original documents were stored in a bank vault, the key to which was hidden in Mariana's favorite flower pot in the garden. She had prepared enough evidence to expose the stepmother and secure the girl's future. With his heart racing, the millionaire ran to the garden. Under the soft earth of the white rose flower pot, he found a small golden key. The bank vault revealed a treasure trove of evidence, compromising statements, recordings of telephone conversations, and even photographs of the stepmother in suspicious meetings with people linked to the black market for adoptions. Mariana had discovered that her sister-in-law not only stole money from the family, she also profited by preventing legal adoptions, receiving payments from criminal networks to keep certain children available in the illegal system. The fourth medium twist arrived when he realized that Mariana's accident had not been accidental. The recordings in the vault included veiled threats from the stepmother, hinting that accidents happen to people who meddle where they don't belong. Armed with this evidence, the millionaire confronted the elderly housekeeper with the truth. When he showed the photographs of her missing daughter that were in the vault, the woman broke down in tears. "I always knew there was something familiar about her," sobbed the housekeeper. "The way she smiles, the way she tilts her head, she's just like my lost girl." The reunion between grandmother and granddaughter was too touching for words. The girl, finally understanding why she felt so safe in the arms of that kind lady, hugged the housekeeper as if she would never let go. "Grandma," she whispered, using the word with its true meaning for the first time. But the final battle was still to come. The wicked stepmother, realizing that her secrets were being discovered, accelerated her legal plans. On the morning of the court hearing, she arrived accompanied by expensive lawyers and bought witnesses, determined to separate the girl from the millionaire at any cost. "Your Honor," she declared to the judge, "this man is clearly suffering from grief-related delusions. He's putting a vulnerable child at risk by fueling fantasies about non-existent connections." But the millionaire was prepared. When he presented the documents from the vault, the compromising recordings, and the DNA results that proved the girl's family relationship with the housekeeper, the scenario was completely reversed. The greatest twist of the story happened when the stepmother's own lawyer, upon seeing the evidence of financial corruption, switched sides and offered full cooperation with the authorities. "My client misled me about the nature of this case," he declared publicly. "I cannot represent someone involved in crimes against minors and financial fraud." The wicked stepmother was arrested right there in court, led away in handcuffs while shouting incoherent accusations against everyone present. Her bank accounts were frozen, revealing a fortune built on years of theft and crime. The millionaire, finally free from the manipulations that had poisoned his family for so long, formalized the girl's adoption in an emotional ceremony in the same court. The housekeeper, now recognized as the legal grandmother, remained as an integral part of the new family that was forming. "Daddy," said the girl for the first time, her small hands squeezing his as they left the courthouse. 6 months later, the mansion had been completely transformed. Children's laughter echoed through the hallways. Colorful drawings decorated the formerly somber walls, and the garden flourished with new life. The millionaire channeled a significant portion of his fortune to create an official foundation in Mariana's memory, legally helping abandoned children find real families. The girl, now with her own chosen name, Hope, in honor of the shelter where she had met Mariana, grew strong and healthy. Proper medical treatments helped her genetic condition, and she flourished physically and emotionally. "Mommy Mariana was right," she said one night, watching the stars from her bedroom window. "She said that love always finds a way to come home." The millionaire smiled, finally understanding that sometimes the greatest tragedies carry within themselves the seeds of the most beautiful transformations. His life had been completely changed by a brave girl who burst into his party carrying painful truths, but who in the end brought light where before there were only shadows.